Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to our webinar, What's New in GlobalForms, Summer 2022, A New Path to HR Onboarding Automation. My name is Nick Fagara, the Marketing Specialist here at Square 9. I'm here today with our President and CEO, Steve Young, and Director of Solutions Development, Dan Miranda, who will be guiding us through the new GlobalForms release. Just before we get started, this webinar is being recorded, and we will share that recording with you after. If you have any questions during the presentation, please submit them through the Q&A feature located at the bottom of the Zoom platform, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation. So with all that, Steve, are you ready?
Yeah, ready when you are.
All right, let's get started.
Very good. Well, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Like Nick said, we do have a poll up on the screen. Be great if everybody could just kind of weigh in. Looking for feedback from the audience. Both our resellers and our customers are going to be on this call today, so it's great to hear your opinions. I'm going to leave that up for a minute as we kick off the introduction, and then I'll share those results out with you. So today's agenda basically is to talk about a new product that we've released built on the latest release of GlobalForms. We're going to talk briefly. I'll probably get this started with about 10 minutes of a presentation, just talking a little bit about some of the challenges, when to automate your HR processes. And then we're really going to jump into the bulk of this, about the next 30 minutes with my partner in crime, who's going to demonstrate the product itself. And then we'll spend the remaining 20 minutes or so answering questions, if you can make it that long. So again, we will be here for the next hour. If you can only stay for the first 40 minutes, that's fine, but we'd welcome any feedback that you have or any questions that you might have. So I did mention my partner in crime. That happens to be Dan Miranda. If you've never met Dan before, he's our Director of Solutions Development. He's worked with us the last 10 years and has had many roles, including running our professional services team, training our professional services team, and just an overall technical manager. He was recently promoted to the Director of Solutions Development, where he's really having an impact creating new solutions built on our platform. And you're going to be seeing more and more of Dan as the months go along. So just wanted to make sure I took a moment to introduce him. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results with you all, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So based on what I am seeing, I'm going to share out these results. What is the biggest pain point when onboarding? It looks like managing the completion of onboarding packages, 56%, or excuse me, 55% of you said that. Collecting and storing new information securely was about 14%. Managing documents in a hybrid workforce, 24%. That doesn't surprise me. That seems to be becoming an increasingly large problem for a number of organizations. And then finally, lastly, we had staying in compliance with Federal Department of Labor regulations. So thanks, everybody. I appreciate you weighing in on that. I'm going to go ahead and close out the poll. There we go. And we'll get started with the presentation. So, the big question that we were asking is, why do you need to automate your HR processes? And again, we saw this year a huge transition in the workforce. Over 6.6 million people were hired for new jobs in 2022. We're also being told that this market is going to grow by about 12.2% by the year 2028. And surprisingly, 58% of organizations still have a process for onboarding, which involves paperwork. And 70% of the workers who remained remote during the pandemic, this really changed the environment that we all work in. And we experienced that here at Square 9 as well. 80% of those employees now expect a hybrid work environment. So this has created a lot of challenges, especially to stay in compliance and get that information coming from people who are working at home and or in remote offices. Finally, we found that organizations with a strong onboarding process improve retention by up to 82% and productivity up to 70%. Again, this is by Zapier research. So if you take a look at most paper onboarding packages, you walk in, a new employee comes in, they're handed a stack of paper, they're handed a clipboard, They have things like employment contracts, W-4 forms, I-9s, things like drug screening, employee demographics, payroll information. They can spend the first couple of hours filling out paperwork so that the HR department gets what it is that they need. And this is not a common practice. This is uncommon practice. This is one that we had for many years at Square 9 as well. So the question comes up, really, when is it time to automate? And, you know, one of the biggest questions that what people responded to just now was they're struggling to manage this type of information in their current workforce. It's more than they can handle, and it's difficult to find critical employee information and secure it in a timely manner. So if you are challenged in that way and you're struggling to meet the compliance needs, we have had some strong examples of that we've come across recently. It might be a good time to take a look at this. I always like to throw up a little social proof. Want to talk about Armstrong Subway, and I'm not going to read off this whole screen, but just to summarize it for everyone, they are someone who benefited greatly from HR automation. Armstrong owns a number of Subway sandwich shops, but really this model could fit any organization, any franchise or multi-location retail chain, especially where you have a young mobile workforce that's prone to turnover. It becomes essential to ensure that all the hiring documentation is completed, that it's compliant, and that's received by your centralized HR department where it can be securely stored and managed. They saved over $20,000 in that first year working with it. Had a lot of issues with compliance at that time where they were incurring some penalties, and those all went away once they deployed the system. So we've worked with Teresa Sherwood for quite a while, and she's an avid user of the product, and we appreciate her support. So what we're going to talk about today is a new path to onboarding automation. And some of you may have remembered a product that we released a few years back that's called Hire to Retire. And it was a great product. It was something that we were very successful with. It was one of the most popular packages that we had created. And we've taken that to the next level. So before I go into that, I wanted to share with you a little bit about the background. For those of you who weren't on the presentation that we did just about a month ago, where we launched the GlobalForms Summer 2022 release, this simplified a lot of what it takes to create forms. The theme for this release was Common Task Simplified. It's something that our developers really took to heart. And again, what they look to do in this, just briefly, is to take a lot of the things that you wanted to do, a lot of the cool things that you could do with GlobalForms, and take it from a low-code environment to a no-code environment, really where it's just a simple drag and drop or a click of the mouse. We also enhanced localization, meaning that you can make forms in multiple languages much easier than you ever could before. You don't have to replicate the form in another language. You have translation capabilities, much like you do throughout the rest of our products. And then finally, we simplified task organization through the introduction of these task portals. And we're going to demonstrate how we use those in this product. So again, if you take a look at how this is different from the Hire to Retire package that we introduced in 2015, that was really kind of a hard-coded application. And what I mean by that is that it was a package. It was something that came that had been tested, gone through QA, and that made it a little bit less versatile. So that means that if you made changes to the forms, adding fields or deleting fields or incorporating additional questions, that could cause you to need to change the application, require reformatting, remapping, and even recreation of existing forms. In addition, if you wanted to add forms off to the standard offering, it required extensive labor, as they essentially broke this application. So as popular as this application was, unfortunately, it could get very expensive if you started to add your own forms into it. So it's something that we look to change. And this is what the challenge that Dan took on when he developed this product with his team. How is it different from Hire to Retire? Well, first of all, it was completely rewritten. The former product, again, was written on, if anybody remembers, the old Frevo product that we used. This is completely rewritten on GlobalForms 2022. It uses a simplified forms creation process. It has automated work queues, and we're using form snapshots rather than just mapping the data onto existing documents. This makes it much easier to make changes to those documents. So it provides you complete flexibility. You have the ability to easily add and delete fields, add custom questions or text, quickly add your own logos in seconds, and it has unlimited expandability. So if you have a unique form that's not included in this package, it can be easily added with minimal effort. It also has an expanded forms library that's now available, and Dan's going to talk about that shortly. And finally, we created what we call a paper-based supplemental form, which means that if you have a piece of documentation that comes in and you want to add it to the employee record, but you don't want to have to create a form for it, you can just drag and drop it into this form and it files it away for you. So some neat things that Dan has done, and here's what's included in this. It's basically starts off with a U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services compliant workflow for collecting, reviewing, and approving federal I-9 forms. This is something that a lot of our customers have had challenges with, and they've looked to us to help them with. So again, it collects the form from the employee, it routes it to their supervisor, where they can then do the appropriate checks and make sure that everything is compliant before it's filed away. In addition, we have forms for things like the federal W-4, for an employment application, background authorization, drug screening authorizations, direct deposits, emergency contact information, and again, that additional document upload form. The important thing, though, is that we're adding documents all the time to our new forms gallery. So if we don't have one there that you might need today, it could be there tomorrow. So with that, what I'm going to do is turn this over to Dan Miranda. As I promised, I'd not PowerPoint you all to death. I just wanted to give a brief introduction about what this was all about, why we did this, and give you the business case. And now I'm going to let Dan show you what it's all about. So go ahead and take it away, Dan.
Thanks, Steve. And Steve, if you could end sharing there, I can share my screen.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Now it works. Perfect. So as Steve has mentioned, we spent some time kind of going back to the drawing board and re-examining what's important to organizations with some of the HR challenges that we mentioned before. Things like, being able to accurately enable folks who are being onboarded to complete onboarding paperwork and fill out applications electronically, and putting together a means for this to be centralized. And what you see on the screen is the start to all those things, right? So this is what we refer to as our HR dashboard. So from this interface, a potential new hire can begin the process of applying for your company, or later down the line, also fill out onboarding paperwork. So when you visit this screen the first time as a non-employee, you're going to be greeted with two options here. The first one is a employment application. So one of the forms that we package with this application is a hire application. So if we simply click apply, we're taken to that application. And within that hire application or the employment application, someone can complete all the requisite fields, enter education, references, and things like that, submitting the form and storing this into our document management system, GlobalSearch. This does tie in quite nicely with our product we refer to as Business Essentials. So we do have one centralized area where all these forms can be stored once they've been submitted. Subsequently, once an employee has moved beyond the applicant stages, they can also go through and fill out and enter their onboarding paperwork. So the second option here we have here is, if you have someone who's reached that point, they're ready to come on board, you can redirect them to your HR dashboard, and with the magic password you provide them, they can access and complete all your onboarding paperwork. So in my case will be Mike Jones, and we'll put our department that we're applying for, which in this case it's sales, and then our email address as well, and then we'll simply hit continue. Once we do so, we see all the different forms that are now available to us: our direct deposit form, our background check, our emergency contact, W-4, I-9, drug test, and a form where we can upload other documents that maybe aren't necessarily on this list, maybe a handwritten form, a benefits application, things like that. So if you'll notice, I entered my information up top. I'm Mike Jones here. I click on our direct deposit form. And from the screen, that information is transferred into the form, and I can complete the rest of this form as needed, submitting this into GlobalSearch. So within the package, we have several pre-canned forms that are available to anyone who uses this package: direct deposit, background check, emergency contact, drug test, as well as other documents to upload. Those are using what Steve has referred to as our snapshot mapping. So, these forms will be sent into our product GlobalSearch and stored as what's referred to as a PDF snapshot. So what you see on the screen is ultimately what gets stored in GlobalSearch. And we spend a good amount of time making sure we're capturing meaningful data for this. There's rules built into these forms. A couple other ones to share here. We have here, as I mentioned, background check or direct deposit. We have background checks, emergency contact notifications, as well as several others, such as drug test authorizations. For example, if someone enters their information in here, they can be prompted with a acknowledgement that they need to sign. And complete the forms in the portal. So we can accelerate the HR onboarding process. In addition to forms that you may be providing your own employees, we also have the government forms such as the W-4 and I-9 as part of this package. W-4 is a form we're probably all familiar with if we've been hired or been employed in the past. Very much all these fields completed reflect and match the fields on the W-4. Subsequently, the I-9 as well. Someone can complete an I-9 and begin the process of review for that I-9. One of the challenges that we've solved in the past is, many a times I-9s are completed, but they're not completed or validated correctly. Many times the information that might be entered is not accurate, or IDs that are provided are expired, and there could be other situations. Maybe the paperwork that was provided is not necessarily accepted. With a process like this, we can create, or someone can start an I-9 and have that document ultimately reviewed by anyone involved in that process. So the employer can later on review the I-9, approve it, and send it on through, or make any corrections necessary, and we'll talk about that. And then subsequently, during this process too, if we have other documents we want to upload, we can click on our other documents to upload. So one of the nice pieces of the solution is that we can easily expand this to handwritten documents, or maybe documents that you don't necessarily have a form to represent today. So take the form here. We can upload a benefits application. So if we select our form and we select health benefits application, or maybe someone's a little more old-fashioned, they've done things on paper, we can select the form they'd like to complete. We can browse to the form that itself. We'll select our benefits application here, upload a file. This could be a PDF, TIFF, or anything else, and submit.
That's
So
important to note, Dan. I think one of the things that I wanted to mention when I saw this is that the W-4 and the I-9, while we're collecting the data in those screens, it's actually producing those on the standard government forms.
correct.
So
Yep.
again, once that's completed, it's actually going to present itself as a signed W-4 and as a signed I-9. So I just wanted to make sure that I referenced that as well. We make it easier for people to collect that data But again, we're making sure that we're giving you compliant forms to work with. Sorry, Dan, just want to jump in for a second.
No worries. So as these forms are completed, whether it be our direct deposit or I-9 or W-4, any of the forms listed on the screen, those are being released into our Business Essentials database. So if you're not familiar with our Business Essentials database, it encompasses several applications: accounts payable, accounts receivable, contracts, as well as some several others for tax and wellness, but it also includes our human resources archive. So Business Essentials can easily be expanded on by using our human resources essential solution here. So the forms I've submitted here ultimately end up in GlobalSearch. So now as a user, you can go in and open any one of these forms simply by double clicking on them and view the snapshot itself. Subsequently, we can navigate and view other documentation such as payroll documents, as well as other documents such as the health and benefits form that I uploaded as well. So, coupled with Business Essentials, we have a central repository for these documents to live. So, one of the strengths of the solution that we put together as well is its expandability, and Steve kind of hinted a little bit on that as well. So many of the forms that you see are ones we've created. However, this could be continually expanded upon to add additional forms. And to supplement that and to aid you guys in that process, or aid your organization in that process, we have provided a couple different tools to do that. The first one, which is a template for forms creation. So if you are familiar with GlobalForms or you've built your own forms before, you may be familiar with our designer, where you can click and drag items onto a canvas and build your own form. The template we have packaged with this allows you to do that more rapidly. If you want to build some of the logic and the rules where you want to, for example, pre-populate someone's name, department, email, or anything like that, that is already present in this template. And then you can simply go through and edit the forms further and build a form as you need and see fit. Subsequently, one of the other things that that we've also done is also, we have additional forms, or if you have existing forms you want to include in that list, you can simply tag them as such and add them to the existing list. So there's quite a bit of, I can jump back here. So now as I go through and I complete my onboarding paperwork, we can rapidly add forms. So with this solution, there's a great amount of flexibility with it. So there's our acceptable use policy. So you can quickly add forms to give you some means to add documents and build existing forms. Subsequently, if you're looking to build process or take advantage of process, we have that built into the solution as well. So if we return to our dashboard, I'm actually signed in as well. And we have this new section available to me being signed into our product GlobalForms. Review pending forms enables us to review any documents that need approval. Of the forms we've mentioned before, the one that typically requires review is the I-9. So if we have any form that requires, a employee or administrator to take action on it, we can click review pending forms and then open up a task list and take further action on a document such as the I-9 and complete the process with that. If you're familiar with the I-9 process, there is a kind of a second part or second section that needs to be completed by an employer, to which they may have to enter hire dates, validate identification, things like that. And that's included as part of this process. Talking now, talking about process, there's also with this a pre-canned workflow that comes with this package that's included for the folks that have deployed our software on the service side. You really get the forms, along with the workflow, as well as our databases available via our solutions delivery network. One more thing I want to show everyone on the call is our something new and upcoming, which is our forms gallery. So we talked a little bit about, the ability to expand this. And one of the things that we've been looking to do is offer more forms to the masses, right? As part of the solution and as part of a customer of Square 9, you'll have also access to the forms gallery. So within here, you can narrow down to a specific department. Let's say you wanted to expand your solution and add additional human resources forms. Well, very likely we may already have that completed or available. We have a number in here you can simply download, view from this gallery, or share with internal staff. And that's something that is available and is a great tool to either demonstrate to either your own customers or expand your own form solution. So that's something that's available as well. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. Steve, maybe we want to open it up for questions.
Yeah, no, Dan, I think you did a great job of presenting what it's all about. And again, the idea here is simply to provide people with a solution. Again, Hire to Retire was one of the most popular solutions we ever built. And again, people like to digitize this forms process. But again, the expandability and the, just the ability to alter it. I remember in a particular case, somebody wanted to have a form added that did a driver's test. And we did it, but it was much more involved and expensive than it needed to be. Again, this doesn't break apart the application. This just augments it. So you don't have to retest everything and make sure that it's working. And it really gives some fluidity to your onboarding process. If you add a new document, it's not going to be an expensive process to add, to put another form into the process. Again, there's some questions that came up. I was reading through on the chat, and one of the questions was, how do we handle handwritten documents? And we have a lot of different solutions here that can handle it. Brian was kind enough to jump in and respond to some of these if you look, but one of them was, can a Word document be ingested, auto OCR'd, and help to populate the application? And Brian responded, yes, we definitely can. From Office documents, we have the ability to complete or pre-populate portions of forms with data from other portions of a process. Any global capture process can kick off other forms processes. So yes, this is fully integrated with our global capture product. So regardless of the type of document that you're working with, we have a solution to handle it. Again, the majority of people are looking to move away from handwritten documents by having their employees fill out these forms digitally and then sharing that data with other applications. Let's see, what else do we have here? There's quite a few came up. Is this in the NFR demo package, or can we update ours to include so we can play around with it? Dan, I think that's a good question for you since you were doing it with our team.
Sorry about that, I was on mute. So you can deploy this. This is not included in the NFR. It would need to be deployed. This does require the latest version of GlobalForms as well as GlobalSearch and Global Capture. So that is something that we can certainly share out for our reseller community.
Yeah, Dan made a point to create this package so it could be shared with our resellers and easily uploaded. I know we just went through that process with our own internal salespeople so that they would be able to demonstrate it as well. It's a little difficult to describe to people if you can't demo it. Okay, let's see. Not a lot of questions. Is there a self-service portal for employees to access information such as W-2s, et cetera? It could probably, again, GlobalSearch could be used as a portal where employees could come in and view their documents in that way. If you wanted to capture those documents digitally and put them into GlobalSearch, you certainly could. I know that we use a combination of what you're seeing right now, along with ADP, which actually stores those online for us. They produce those W-2s and store them online. But you absolutely could use this for that purpose. We've seen this used for things like time cards, for W-2s, for W-4s. I'm just trying to think of, there's a whole host of documents that people will use this for. And again, that type of self-service portal is very popular with many of our customers. Okay. If you have any other questions, please feel free to put them up.
Steve, we have a couple that came in through the Q&A at the bottom.
Oh, okay, great. I didn't see those down there. How are alerts provided when an onboard or application is completed, and if started but incomplete? Dan, how would you work that in the workflow?
Today, the recipient gets email notifications, but anyone else involved in that process, such as an employer, can also be a part of those email notifications. And subsequently, if someone were to look at our product GlobalSearch, they would very much see that maybe 1 or 2 forms were submitted, and then the remaining were not present.
Good. Another one came up here, Dan. How long would it take to add this solution to my existing one? So if a person already had GlobalSearch, I guess if they didn't have the human resources database, they need to add that. So why don't we take it from there? They'd be talking about the download. Yeah,
absolutely. So I guess a couple of things to consider. You would certainly need our human resources database as part of our business essentials package. In addition, you would need to be on the newer versions of GlobalSearch, GlobalCapture, and GlobalForms, which if you are a Forms customer of ours, that's probably a non-issue. But subsequently to deploy this, I think we were looking within a day or two. The other challenge that, with this is if there's any forms that you would like Square 9 or maybe members of our reseller community to customize, certainly that could affect the timeline as well. But very much this is meant to be dropped in and deployed very rapidly in an existing instance of GlobalSearch.
Thanks, Dan. Another question we had that just came up is this new form set up only for onboarding? And absolutely not. If you remember what we did, what I spoke about in the presentation, I talked about the summer 2022 version of GlobalForms, and it really adds a lot of flexibility. Things like this hiring portal that you see, or the work queues that Dan showed, where an I-9 would appear as part of your work queue. This is all standard as part of the new product. So yes, things like this can be created. We're going to be expanding with other solutions as well. This is a big focus of Dan and his team right now, is to create these types of solutions for different types of businesses. But again, our reseller community can also do this as well. So we're excited about where this could take us. And again, the self-service portals that were mentioned earlier are a big part of that strategy. Let's see. Ooh, quite a few popped up here. We currently have forms, but we only have 4 forms available to us. You can easily add additional forms. You just need to contact either your reseller or your Square 9 regional sales director. Again, we do packages of them. We're going to be putting a special package together for this as well, which includes the base system that Dan Miranda spoke about, which is our Digital Transformation Essentials bundle. It's basically the GlobalSearch database with Business Essentials, which has human resources. It would also include a single workflow. It would include our capture transformation services, which includes the forms product. And then we're also going to be bundling an additional 10 forms into that as well at a discounted price to make it easier for our employees. So Latanya, if you have interest in adding more forms, we certainly will work with you to make that happen. Okay. Can we share this video with clients that are already using an old GlobalForms for HR package to show the advantages of these new easy features? And yes, we'd encourage you to. At the end of this, Nick will be posting this presentation of the webinar, and you'll be able to download that, and you'll be able to share that with anyone that you'd like. Again, we will make this available so people can demonstrate it live if they'd like, and our regional sales team also has it on their demo rig so that they can demonstrate it as well. Sean said, once the user populates the web form, can this data be used to populate other potentially non-standard customized forms?
Absolutely. And you know, that template that we provide as part of this package to create your own forms already includes that logic in there as well. So you can use that as kind of a framework to build those additional forms and add them to your solution. Great.
How do you manage the pricing, and is there post-sale support at what type of cost? Well, this is available on both, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, I might be speaking out of school, so I need you to keep me honest. This is available both for our on-premise and our cloud product, correct? Okay,
correct.
I just wanted to make sure. And again, it would be based on either, you know, a purchase of GlobalForms and the number of forms that you'd like to have. We try to make it very scalable with GlobalForms, making it very affordable to get. And then, you know, depending on the number of forms that you want to add, it gets progressively less expensive. And the same way with our cloud version, although it's offered on a subscription basis, so it's even easier to add onto your system. Okay. Let's see. What level of security does this application use, since there's a lot of personal data involved? Dan, I'm going to let you handle that one.
Yeah. So depending on your deployment of Square 9, if you're a cloud customer and we are SOX and HIPAA compliant, and much of the security wrapped around our application utilizes some of the strictest security controls as well as protocols, HTTPS, things like that, to keep that information secured. If you're in an on-prem environment as well, you could very much deploy those same practices or deploy in such a secured environment. You know, from a security standpoint, in terms of the application, you know, much of what you've seen here is secured and not necessarily accessible. So there's definite security around that as well.
Yeah. And that's important to know, because again, as Dan mentioned, we do go through a rigorous audit each and every year. And it is exhaustive. It is to get us not only SOC 1 and SOC 2, but also HIPAA compliant. So when you put your documents into our cloud, you can be confident that those documents are going to be in a secure encrypted environment. We also use, as he mentioned, HTTPS. So we're using a secured, what's that, AES 256, Dan, encryption protocol for that as well. Okay. Great, thank you. I'm also interested in the single flow system. So yes, absolutely, Latanya, we can help you out with that, and we'll definitely get you pointed in the right direction. I think that's it. I just want to double check and make sure there's nothing else in the portal. Oh, I think that's it. Well, everyone, I appreciate your time. We're trying to make these, you know, relatively brief, not PowerPoint you to death, and really kind of give you an opportunity to see the software and answer and ask a few questions. So if additional questions do come up, please direct them. We'll have them sent directly to marketing. Our marketing address is marketing@square-9.com. They'll make sure that those get routed to the proper person, and we'll get back to you within the same day, typically, with any questions that come up. If you do want to speak with your reseller or with a Square 9 sales representative, by all means, you can use that address as well, and marketing will, again, direct you to the appropriate person. So I do appreciate everyone taking the time to look at what we have presented. And again, wanted to thank Dan Miranda for joining me today. He's done a great job, and this is the type of thing that he's going to be demonstrating that can be done with our products, rather than having you start off from scratch. He's looking to address specific business issues that can make your deployment of GlobalSearch and GlobalForms even easier. So with that said, I do appreciate it. Guys, have a great day, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. And again, we look forward to seeing you the next time. Take care.